Hello, my name is Miguel. I am 32 years old and I live in Chicago. I work as a chef and I love cooking traditional recipes and trying new ingredients. Today, I want to tell you about something challenging that happened to me when I decided to open my own restaurant in America. It all began 3 years ago when I was working in a busy downtown restaurant. The hours were long and the work was hard, but I enjoyed creating delicious meals for customers. Every night after my shift, I would think about my dream of having my own small restaurant where I could cook the special dishes from my grandmother's recipes. I had moved to Chicago from Mexico 5 years earlier, and I missed the authentic flavors of my hometown. One evening, after a particularly difficult shift, I sat down at my kitchen table and made a decision. It's time to stop dreaming and start doing, I told myself. The next morning, I opened a notebook and began to write down my plan. I had saved some money, but not enough to open a restaurant. I needed to learn more about running a business in America, find a good location, and get the necessary permits. The task seemed overwhelming, but I was determined. First, I enrolled in a free business course at the community center. The classes were every Tuesday and Thursday evening after my work shift. I was often tired, but the information was valuable. Our teacher, Mrs. Johnson, was patient and knowledgeable. Starting a business is like preparing a complex recipe, she told us. You need the right ingredients, the correct timing, and lots of practice. During the course, I met Elena, a woman who worked in real estate. When I told her about my dream to open a small restaurant, she became interested. I know a perfect location, she said. It's a small place that used to be a cafe. The owner is retiring and wants to rent it quickly. The next day, Elena showed me the space. It was on a corner with large windows and a small kitchen. The rent was reasonable and the location was good, near a busy train station with lots of foot traffic. I could almost see my restaurant coming to life in this space. I felt excited, but also nervous. Was I ready for such a big step? I discussed the opportunity with my best friend, Carlos, who had moved to Chicago with me. "You've been talking about this for years," he said. "If you don't try now, you might regret it later." His words gave me courage. I decided to take the risk. The next few months were the busiest of my life. I continued working at the restaurant while preparing to open my own place. I had to secure a small business loan, apply for various permits, create a menu, find suppliers, and buy equipment. Every step involved paperwork, phone calls, and meetings. There were many moments when I felt lost in the complicated process of starting a business in a country that was still new to me. The language barrier was sometimes difficult. Although my English was generally good, I struggled with the specific terminology related to business, law, and real estate. I carried a small notebook everywhere to write down new words and phrases. Words like liability, collateral, and quarterly taxes became part of my daily vocabulary. The day I signed the lease for the restaurant space was both exciting and terrifying. I now had 6 months of rent in advance paid, but also a huge responsibility. There was no turning back. I named my restaurant Sabores de Casa, which means flavors of home in English. I wanted to create a place that would remind me of my grandmother's kitchen while also welcoming Americans who might be trying Mexican food for the first time. With the help of friends, I painted the walls in warm colors and decorated the space with photographs of Mexican landscapes. Carlos, who was good with computers, helped me create a simple website and social media accounts. My sister Maria, designed beautiful menus featuring my grandmother's recipes with descriptions in both Spanish and English. As the opening day approached, unexpected problems arose. The health inspector found issues that needed to be fixed. Some equipment arrived late. The costs were higher than I had anticipated. Sometimes I woke up at night worrying that I had made a terrible mistake. What if no one came to my restaurant? What if people didn't like my food? What if I couldn't pay back my loan? 2 weeks before the opening, another problem appeared. A pipe burst in the kitchen, causing water damage. The repairs would take at least a month. I felt devastated. I had already hired 3 employees who were counting on this job. I had also announced the opening date on social media, and many people had expressed interest. Sitting in the water-damaged kitchen, I nearly gave up. Then I remembered my grandmother's words. When life gives you problems, make them into opportunities. I called Elena to explain the situation. After listening carefully, she made a suggestion. Why don't you start with a food truck while the restaurant is being repaired? I have a client who is selling one. At first, the idea seemed crazy. A food truck wasn't my dream, but the more I thought about it, the more sense it made. A food truck would require less investment, allow me to start serving food sooner, and help build a customer base before the restaurant opened. The next day, I went to see the food truck. It was small, but in good condition, with all the necessary equipment. The price was reasonable, especially compared to the restaurant repairs. After a thorough inspection, I decided to buy it. Now, I had a new challenge, adapting my business plan for a mobile kitchen. I selected a simplified menu of items that could be prepared quickly, but would still showcase the authentic flavors I wanted to share. I found good locations around the city where food trucks were allowed, focusing on areas near offices during lunch hours and popular nightlife spots in the evenings. The food truck, which I painted bright blue and decorated with the Sabres de Casa logo, was ready in just 2 weeks. My first day of business was nerve-wracking. I parked near a busy office complex at lunchtime. For the first hour, few people approached. Then, a woman bought tacos and came back minutes later with 3 colleagues. "These are amazing," she said. "So different from the usual fast food." By the end of the day, I had sold almost everything. The food truck became unexpectedly successful. People loved the authentic flavors and fresh ingredients. I created a social media page where I posted my daily locations, and soon I had regular customers who would travel across the city to find my truck. I hired 2 assistants to help with the increasing demand. Meanwhile, the repairs on the restaurant continued. What had seemed like a disaster turned into a blessing. By the time the restaurant was ready, 3 months later, Sabores de Casa already had a following. Many food truck customers were excited to visit the permanent location. The restaurant opening was a celebration. Friends, regular customers, and even Mrs. Johnson from the business course came to support me. The small space was packed all evening, and we received wonderful compliments on the food. I kept the food truck operating in different areas of the city, which helped attract customers to the restaurant. 1 year later, both the restaurant and the food truck were profitable. I had expanded the menu, hired more staff, and even started catering services for special events. The journey wasn't easy, and there were many challenges along the way. I made mistakes and learned from them. I worked harder than I ever had before. There were days when I questioned my decision. But the satisfaction of building something from scratch, of sharing my culture through food, and of creating jobs for others made every difficult moment worthwhile. Looking back, I realized that starting a business taught me more than just entrepreneurial skills. It improved my English as I had to communicate with suppliers, customers, and officials every day. It built my confidence in navigating American systems and culture. It connected me with my new community while also helping me preserve and share my heritage. Today, Sabores de Casa is well known in Chicago for its authentic Mexican cuisine. I recently opened a second restaurant location, and I'm considering franchising opportunities. The burst pipe that once seemed like a disaster led me to the food truck idea, which became a crucial part of my business strategy. Sometimes the biggest challenges lead to the best innovations. My name is Miguel, and that was my story about starting a business in a new country. What dream would you pursue if you weren't afraid of the challenges? Thank you for listening to my journey. It hasn't always been easy, but it has been incredibly rewarding. When I first arrived in America, I spoke little English and knew almost nothing about running a business. Now, I employ 15 people, serve hundreds of customers each week, and have been featured in local magazines and food blogs. My parents and grandmother have visited from Mexico and seen the restaurants. My grandmother cried when she saw her recipes on the menu and her picture on the wall. "You have brought our family's flavors to a new place," she said, hugging me tightly. That moment made all the hard work worthwhile. Of course, running a business continues to present challenges. Managing employees, maintaining quality, handling competition, and balancing work with personal life are ongoing struggles. Last month, a large chain restaurant opened nearby, offering authentic Mexican food at lower prices. I worried about losing customers, but something interesting happened. Many people tried the chain restaurant, but then returned to Sabores de Casa, saying they preferred our food and atmosphere. "Their food is Mexican-inspired, but yours tastes like the real Mexico," one regular customer told me. I've learned that authenticity is something that can't be mass-produced. Being an immigrant entrepreneur has unique challenges and advantages. The challenges include navigating unfamiliar regulations, overcoming language barriers, and sometimes facing prejudice. But the advantages are significant too. I bring different perspectives, recipes, and traditions that make my business stand out. I can connect with the growing Hispanic community in Chicago while also introducing American customers to genuine Mexican culture beyond the typical tacos and burritos they might know. Recently, I started offering cooking classes on Sunday mornings before the restaurant opens. Participants learn to make traditional dishes while I share stories about Mexican ingredients and culinary history. These classes have become very popular, especially among young professionals who want to cook more at home but need guidance. The classes create another source of income and help spread appreciation for authentic Mexican cooking. I've also started a small scholarship program for young immigrants who want to attend culinary school. When I first arrived in Chicago, I would have benefited greatly from such support. Now that my business is stable, I want to help others achieve their dreams. The scholarship pays for cooking classes and provides internship opportunities at my restaurant. Last year, 2 scholarship recipients joined my staff after completing their training. Watching them develop their skills reminds me of my own journey. Sometimes people ask me if I miss working as an employee with regular hours and less responsibility. The truth is, running my own business is much harder than working for someone else. The hours are longer, the stress is greater, and there's no guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks. But the freedom to create my own menu, set my own standards, and build something that truly represents me is priceless. I'm not just earning a living, I'm creating a legacy. The food truck that once seemed like a compromise has become a beloved part of Chicago's food scene. We park it at festivals, private events, and busy areas around the city. It serves as a mobile advertisement for the restaurants while generating its own profit. We've decorated it with colorful artwork that celebrates Mexican culture, making it instantly recognizable. People often take photos with the truck and share them online, which brings more customers to both the mobile and permanent locations. As my business grows, I'm learning to delegate responsibilities. In the beginning, I tried to do everything myself: cooking, purchasing, accounting, marketing, and customer service. I quickly realized this wasn't sustainable. Now I have managers for each restaurant, a dedicated social media coordinator, and a reliable team in the kitchen that can prepare dishes to my standards even when I'm not present. This allows me to focus on developing new recipes, planning for future expansion, and maintaining the overall vision of Sabores de Casa. My advice to anyone dreaming of starting a business in a new country is simple. Prepare thoroughly, but don't wait for perfect conditions. Learn the language, understand the local regulations, and build a network of supportive people. Expect challenges and be flexible enough to adapt your plans when necessary. Most importantly, bring your authentic self and unique perspective to your business. That's what will make it special. My name is Miguel, and that was my story about turning obstacles into stepping stones on the path to building a successful business. What challenges would you be willing to overcome to achieve your dreams? Thank you for joining me on this entrepreneurial journey.